I managed teams for 7 years, and over these times I saw ridiculous, useless, and sometimes even harmful leadership trainings that some people have the audacity to charge us money for. In general, almost every manager is doing some sort of leadership training from time to time, and it is great. We grow and we learn from experts, but not all of it is useful, and it can be very expensive because, managers usually have a little bit more money to spend. So here's 5 trainings that I believe you should not spend your time and money on. Let's go. And the first one is MBA. Okay, wait, that's a joke. The first training that you should avoid is the one that will promise you a magic pill. Take control over your life, become a leader of your dreams, finally make people do whatever you want them to do. There is usually a very charismatic speaker that promises all kinds of things. In a nutshell, it is practically a semi-scam that usually costs a lot and promises you to solve all of your leadership problems. And make you the ruler of the world, of course. Some of it is very obvious, like, learn leadership in your sleep. It's obviously a scam. But some of it is much more subtle, and it can confuse even people with very developed critical thinking. So here's a few markers or triggers that you can use to identify this magic pill kind of category. The first thing I would watch out for is when there are no limits. For example, we promise to solve all of your problems. Our method will help you with everything you need. Something like that should be alarming because leadership is a complicated thing. It's quite unlikely that you will learn one thing that will solve all of your problems. Usually, people who are legit experts, they're very clear about with what they can help and with what they cannot. Second, these semi-scams are never relying on a well-known and proven approaches. They will rarely tell you that they're using techniques and approaches that are proven to work for decades and decades. No, they will be having something innovative, never heard and never seen before, and that's why they won't be able to back up their results in any way. The third ringing bell is untransparency. These trainings will never tell you what exactly they're gonna teach you and why. They will have this mysterious, blurry description with a lot of promises and with not a lot of tangible explanations of what will happen. Number 4 is not a rule, but my observation. Usually, there is like a very cold and distant guru that knows everything. You will join the elite club and this person will tell you how it's done. So for me, it's both repellent and, to be honest, suspicious. Lastly, all of their promises are based on our hope for a miracle, on the promise of this magic pill. All that does not mean that all of the leadership trainings are scam. No, not at all. But when you're looking for it, look for something that will be more transparent, more logical, more science-based. The program with a lot of tangible feedback from others. And for me personally, the biggest point is, I think, the transparency factor. Don't tell me that in a few weeks I will become a leader of my dreams, but explain me what are you going to teach me, how and why will this work. The second type of training I would not recommend you to do is the ones that have only one leadership style in their core. Are there many leadership styles existing in the world? Yes, of course. Do they work? Yeah, the majority of them do. But leadership is such a nuanced thing. It's not one size fits all. Even if you take, for example, servant leadership style, there will be multiple cases that will prove that this style would work. And you can easily exclude the examples where it would not. The point is not that one style is better than the other. It's that leaders should know and be able to use multiple of them. Because, first of all, companies are very different. Corporate cultures are different. Corporate goals are different, which sometimes implies that manager is required to use a certain type of leadership styles. And even more than that, all of us are people in the end, and we have certain ways of managing others that are more or less natural to us. So even if we imagine that this training that is focused on only one leadership style will eventually work in some cases, it can be so unnatural to you that you just won't be able to adapt it and use it in your work. And you will think about yourself as a failure manager just because this training didn't give you the visibility of all of the different styles that exist. The alternative for that will be trainings that give you exactly that. They acknowledge that there are multiple very different leadership styles. They exist to be used in different cases, different companies, different teams. These trainings will help you explore what is your leadership style, the one that you personally more tend towards. What are maybe the other ones that you can also show and practice, and how you as a leader can work with all that. The third type of training I would not recommend is productivity trainings, like all of this Pomodoro techniques. Like there is a full YouTube of all kinds of productivity techniques that practically help you get things done. Let me explain. The reason I would not recommend these trainings as a leadership training is because the main focus of it is how to do things in the most efficient manner, the most, like even the word productivity. So for you to generate more products, like more outcomes of everything that you do. My deep belief that this is not what you should focus on. As managers, it is much more important to sharpen our focus to choose what do we do instead of learning how to do as much as possible. You can be incredibly productive and in the state of flow and clean effectively all of your emails, but what's the point of it if it's not what you were supposed to do as a manager in the first place? So as an alternative, I would recommend you to look at the direction that helps you make smart choices of where to focus your energy and effort into. And this may be a bit counterintuitive, but I recommend stress management workshops, because in our everyday work, we're constantly bombarded with so much information, so many choices to make, big and small. It raises the level of our anxiety, especially in tough situations. And it makes sense for leaders to train a skill of calmly deciding what requires your attention and what doesn't. Number 4 is leadership team building trainings, but not all of it. I myself 100% believe in the power of team building training. What do I mean believe? Like, I know it works. There is research that shows that it works. But for some reason, these leadership team buildings are sometimes very, how do you say, like tacky, they're very cliche, they're very trustful kind of style. They're disconnected from the actual challenges that a leadership team or managers experience. Basically, my problem with them is some of them are overly simplistic. And instead of either actually bringing the leadership team together or giving a chance for managers to learn how to trust one another, it just turns into like a very weird and cringe exercise. And what is more painful, that after that, a lot of managers, they're convinced that all of the trainings are like that and they refuse to do anything altogether, although it can be much better. The additional point here is that some of this training have this, hey, let's have fun kind of vibe. And again, don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with us switching to a state of play. We're usually very serious at our workplaces. So in general, it is not bad. You know, to showcase through a more simplified examples or games the actual issues that teams experience. But it should not prevail over the content itself. And when it does, like you feel that there is not much tangible content, everyone is kind of trying to have fun and it just all gets like cringy. Here I will give you 2 alternatives from what I know works. And the first one is, my experience shows that it works to invite a good coach or a trainer to tailor-made the training for your team. For example, you're having a management team that has some team dynamics issues, and you invite an expert that will help you treat the issues that you already know exist, which means creating a program in advance, discussing with someone from the team. So you'll know in advance that it will treat your exact problem. And the second type is, there are many very good business games that are proven to be effective, that are proven to work. There is tons of feedback in the internet about what these games are like, what do they help with, so you can check in advance if this is what you are looking for or not. Number 5, and this is my favorite one, trainings that are based on the success story of only one person. All of the good, working, legitimate leadership practices were at some point discovered by one person. So there is nothing wrong with that. But a success of one person does not mean it will work for you. And it's like a very nice trap. We're so easily convinced by a person who succeeded, who has the authority because of that, and now this person will tell you how things should be done because it obviously worked. Like, the proof of how it works is right in front of you, but no one ever tells that this is only one example and one story. And there are so many other factors in the story that no one is talking about. Like, you have a super successful CEO that is teaching everyone how to create companies. Although half of the things that happened to this person was like a pure luck, and sometimes even these people cannot acknowledge that. The alternative for that would be leadership trainings that have scientific based approach. I'm telling you, the research on leadership in the wider sense is like phenomenal. It's enormous. There are so many things that are scientifically proven to work, which is much more reliable than one story of one person who maybe just was lucky at some point. By the way, speaking of how expensive leadership trainings can be, I myself a few years ago spent around 50k to do one of the best MBAs in the Netherlands, and I made a video about why MBA may not be exactly for you, so check it out if you like. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you there.